So hello once again. I think we'll just start off with introductions as we give people some time to join in. My name is Melanie Hapisu. I am founder and CEO of a digital marketing agency called Digipath Africa that is behind these webinars through a WhatsApp community that we have. I will be your moderator for today, where we'll be talking about matters search engine optimization. And honestly, I'm so excited because this is one of the uncomfortable topics that people do not like to have around this space. So I'm looking forward to my panelists today shedding some knowledge around it through an interesting conversation we'll have. And so maybe to start off, I think I'll just do a round of intros. I have Jay here with me on the call. Jay is a certified cloud solutions architect with a history of working on cloud solutions on Amazon Web Services, but he's also skilled on the IT side, specifically when it comes to programming, from Python to C++ and a lot more. He has a strength in information technology and also has a master's degree focused in computer systems and engineering from the University of Sheffield. So Jay, maybe I'll give you an opportunity to just say hello and maybe add on anything else I've left out in your intro.
Thanks, Melanie. Just 1 second, sorry. Thanks, Melanie. I'm not sure if my video is showing, but so basically what we've done is, just let me see if my...
Now we can see you.
Oh, you can see me now. Okay, sorry. Okay, so hi everyone. So I'm actually now working with a company called Regulus. So we do e-commerce solutions and websites for customers. So one of the key things being SEO is part of it. So we work with Melanie in some of the ads as well for customers and engagement. Yeah, and I think just in general, yeah, more of a development point, but also consultancy on sales and e-commerce as well.
Amazing. Thanks for being here, Jay. Interesting fact, Jay is my client. So Jay, thank you so much for being here. I think next
No problem.
I'll go over to Sylvia. So Sylvia is the founder of a company called Evolving Digitally. And she's driven by a desire to learn from everything from basics, up until the complicated stuff, especially when it comes to content marketing, up until search engine optimization. She's worked with clients in different, locations from US to Australia, Dubai, and as well as other African countries. She has a holistic approach to approaching this whole conversation of digital marketing and SEO, from keyword research to on-page SEO, and a lot more that we'll be talking about during this session. Interesting fact, I met Sylvia online, but eventually the online friendship led to a face-to-face meetup. Yeah, so that's a fun fact. Sylvia, maybe I'll leave you to say hello and add on anything else I may have left.
Hello guys, my name is Sylvia, founder of Evolving Digitally. We are a digital education platform running programs on digital literacy and how to get into the digital space, and majorly like understanding the digital economy and opportunities it presents. I currently work with SEO agency in California. Majorly, I work with content marketing, from content keyword research, content optimization, which is also a one-time thing. So I regularly make sure like we are on top of our pages. Apart from that, I have some associations also with managing the affiliate links within the site. So making sure we get traction through affiliate marketing.
Great. Thank you so much for that, Sylvia. Nice to have you on the call. Maybe at some point you'll check on your audio. It sounds like you're moving away from your mic, but we got what you said. My final panelist is called Joy. Joy is a media savvy marketing communication specialist. She leverages diverse media to increase engagement and coverage for organizations. She also has expertise in customer relationship management, social media management, and a lot more. She's well-versed in this conversation of search engines, especially when it comes to search engine marketing, Google ads, the Facebook ads, being SEO compliant in terms of your copywriting, and a lot more. I met Joy through the WhatsApp community that we have. So Joy, hello to my online friend. Looking forward to meeting you in person. But I think I'll just give you an opportunity to say hello and maybe add on anything I may have left in your intro.
All right, thanks, Melanie. I hope you can all hear me clearly. As I rightly put it, my name is Joy. I'm an MBA in Marketing and Communications, and SEO is a subject that is really close to my heart. It has landed me clients and given me money. So I'm really passionate about SEO and writing. So I look forward to having a meaningful conversation tonight. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you as well. So welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining in. I'll put off my video for now to save on bandwidth, but looking forward to an engaging conversation. If you have any questions, feel free to put them on the chat and then we'll get to them during the Q&A session. Of course, in the spirit of respecting people's time, we aim to finish by 8 p.m. in as much as we've started late. So kindly bear with us, engage. If you'd love to unmute and contribute to the conversation, feel free to raise your hand and we'll be happy to give you that opportunity. So as we start this conversation, I think maybe let's start from the basics. And I know that many people may take it for granted that, maybe we all understand what SEO is, but I think maybe in simple terms, and I'd love to just start with Joy. What is SEO to you? And then maybe I can have Sylvia and Jay add on anything that they'd love to add to that definition. Joy, what is SEO in simple terms to you?
I think I'd love to say it's curating content or an online presence that is easily visible to your target audience, because I would like to think it's impossible to do SEO without being online. So it's kind of crafting an online presence that is easily accessible to the audience you're targeting. Yeah, so whether this is social media or website, it could be either.
Amazing. Thank you for that, Joy. Anything to add on, Sylvia? Jay, I know Jay will add it on from a technical side. Maybe we can start with Sylvia.
Not really. I do agree with her. Like being visible to your audience. Also, SEO is more speaking to your audience, making sure that your audience gets your content the right fit. So, I think that is that is important. As much as we are pumping out and being visible, I think the right stage of the content funnel and the right audience is also like a good aspect of it.
All right. Sorry, Sylvia. Once again, could you just repeat your last few statements? You were far from your microphone, so we were losing you a bit.
Okay. I'm not sure if you can hear me now.
We can hear you at the beginning, then it sort of fades away.
I'm not sure actually what's the problem.
All right.
Maybe let me try and figure it out.
Yeah, maybe we can go to Jay. Then if possible, maybe you can join with a different device for audio. But Jay, maybe you can add on to that. What is SEO to you?
So I think SEO is something that can potentially build your brand as well. So it's again doing the targeting to your audience, but it's at the end of the day just bringing recognition of your brand to customers for me, and how people can know more about me as well. So I think in simple terms, that's what I would say. From a technical point, there's a lot that goes behind it, but most of the time it's just to build the brand of my website, organization, but it's basically that.
And I love that you brought the word recognition, because at the end of the day, that's what it is. I'm sure some of us here, when you've heard of the term SEO, just like it sounds, it's whatever is happening on a search engine, for example, Google, Bing, and all that. And the whole aspect of making it now optimized is what Jay is referring to as recognition. Everybody wants to be on the first page of a search. you know. But I think the biggest question is it actually possible for all of us to be on the first page of the results? And what does it actually take for you to appear there? I think those are critical questions that brands need to ask themselves, because most times people make it look like you just need to sit and you'll be number one on the page, or you just need to be a big brand and you'll be the first one on the page. So critical things to think about. Maybe I can go back to Sylvia. What is SEO to you?
Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Okay. Is more your digital view you or the access, what kind of content people access on the digital space about you and your brand, which shapes their perspective about you. And then also search engine optimization is more like do your customers meet
Sylvia, you're breaking.
content at the right stage of
Sorry, Sylvia, I think it's your internet now. Maybe.
funnel? Maybe brand awareness people. I'm not sure what it is because like I've restarted.
Okay, you keep going and coming back. Now you sound like you're back, but it sounded like your network was the challenge. Can you hear me well?
Yeah, I can clearly hear all of you. Like I clearly like hear you.
Now you're back. Now you're back. We can hear you very well.
Okay. I was saying search engine optimization is more like
All right. Looks like I've lost Sylvia. Jay, are you able to hear her? Joy?
yes, and without her working on having a good reputation, people get to access that. And the kind of content I get about you shapes my thoughts about you. So SEO plays a big part in making sure that people have the right access to content. And also you get to access your clients at the right stage. They are brand awareness clients. They are ready to purchase clients. They are comparison. They are clients looking to research. So with good SEO, you get to meet them at the right stage and work with them through the journey. So that's my definition of SEO.
Amazing. Thank you, Sylvia. We had lost you, then you came back, but I've had majority of that. And I love that you've mentioned it's, meeting your customer ideally at the point they're in. And I think I love to think about SEO like that, because really, when you tell someone about your business today, chances are they'll search for you either on a search engine or on a social media platform, and you're honestly meeting them wherever they are. And based on that, I think I'll just continue the conversation. Joy, I know this SEO world and digital space keeps changing all the time. Today there's this trend, tomorrow there's this other trend, and sometimes it's so hard to keep up as a marketer. And I'd love to know from your perspective as a marketer, what are some of the tactics that you think marketers should prioritize just to be able to stay ahead of their competition SEO-wise, and just to ensure that they still rank highly? What would you say to that?
I think for me, it's very key to produce valuable content. So the information that you're churning out, is it actually useful? Does it answer the questions of the people who are searching us or finding us on Google or Bing or whatever? So I'll be very keen on producing valuable content that actually converts leads into sales, or maybe get us to having that conversation. And number two would be the user friendliness of the site. You find that some websites, you really have to take too many steps to get to, if it's a purchase you're making, you have to go through so many processes, and you find that some people bounce before they make the actual sale or before they land to the final CTA. So you want to make sure that the site is really simple but really user friendly. So for me, those two aspects are really key: valuable content and user friendliness of the site.
Amazing. And definitely valuable content is so critical because then those are some of the things that help you to be findable. For those of us who are here and you're still trying to understand search engine optimization, I want you to think of everything that displays when you do a search. You could get text results, you could get visual results, you could get visual in the form of pictures, in the form of videos. So think of content all round, even with regards to what Joy has said. I love that you've also brought out the user experience and friendliness. Thank you for that. And I mean, Jay, I'd love you to contribute to that. What are some of the tactics that either marketers or even developers should prioritize when it comes to SEO? I know you'll touch a bit on the user experience, considering that you've worked quite a bit to do quite a number of sites for clients. But yeah, maybe let's hear from you a bit, Jay.
Sure. Thanks, Melanie. I think the number one biggest thing would be is simplicity in the design. Many customers nowadays want to go for more fancier graphics. They want to go for fancy things. So it's not just about how fancy a website looks. It's also about how well does it function. So from a usability point, a UI UX point, the biggest thing I would say is making sure the website can load within at least 1 to 2 seconds, which is what we would have to try and get towards. So that's like the ballpark figure that's there for standardizing the speed of a website. It's like they say, anything beyond that now, your conversions start dropping. So from 70%, it gets up going to 50, and then anything beyond 4 seconds ends up going to about 30, and anything beyond that now from 6 seconds onwards, it ends up going down to 20%. So I think that would be one of the biggest things, is how fast would my website load. So there's a number of tools that I used for this, but the biggest one would be, so Google actually has one of this, which is called Page Speed Developer. It actually tracks how fast your website is in terms of standards and gives you a rating on your website as well. So from a usability point, from an accessibility point, as well as from a speed point. And then I think the last bit would be in terms of content. The biggest one would be, like optimizing images and stuff, which it generally tells you to do. But the main thing would just be you keeping up to date with the content. So it's something that should be always looking at your competitors, always looking at what they are doing as well. I think it doesn't end up stopping at a point. You will always continue optimizing your content based on what keeps coming up in the market as well, and what your competitors are using as well.
Thank you. I like that. And I think optimization is something quite critical because different consumers, could search differently, and consumers keep changing all the time. I think something that Sylvia alluded to. So thank you for bringing that up, Jay. And speaking of, Sylvia, I think I'll go back to you. Speaking of some of the tactics that then marketers, are sort of utilizing to improve on SEO. I know one of the critical conversations around this space is conducting effective keyword research so that then you're findable when someone does a search. But Sylvia, if you don't mind telling us, how can one ensure that the keywords that they actually choose to, put in align with both what a user would search for, but also still please the search engine in terms of the algorithms?
I think right now a big conversation around that is AI content. And I think being able to know how to work on your content well for the search engine not to flag it as AI written is one of the important things. But then also maintaining there's a reason people follow your content and read your content apart from its value. So maintaining the right tone of your conversation also is something to pay attention to. I'm big on long tail keywords because one of the things marketers should stay on top is trends. And voice search is a big thing right now. And you realize like with voice search, people tend to say a lot more. So I think working on more long tail keywords over just keywords is something to pay attention to as we also see the evolution of gadgets and stuff. So yeah, that's what I would comment on.
Amazing. I love that you brought in AI because, I mean, in real sense, that's where the world is going and we have to catch up. So thank you for bringing that up. And I think a few minutes ago, as I was introducing Joy, something interesting that came up from your introduction was that you do copywriting that's SEO friendly. I hope I've said it right. And I'm curious to know, Joy, just based on your experience, how does that then work? How do you know it's good for SEO? Are we looking at reports? Are we looking at, how do you know? I'm curious to know.
So from the moment I will draft the article, for example, I want to make sure that the keywords, which I have in advance, they appear in strategic places in my article. For example, you want your keyword to appear in the title, in the meta description, in the URL, and in strategic paragraphs, especially like the first few sentences. But I think you need to be careful not to stuff the article with keywords, but those are just some of the strategic places that you need to ensure the keywords appear. Yeah, so with that, it gives your article a better chance to rank on search engine. I don't know if I've answered your question, Melanie.
You have. I mean, because at the end of the day, that's where people are searching. So it's all about just trying to identify what words should go in most common places that people would ideally search for. So yes, thank you for that. And I mean, closely related to that, I think I'll go over to Jay. I know you're very big on tools, but I'd also love to know, is there a best approach to keyword research? Do it with manually, top of mind? Do we use tools? Are there any tools you can probably mention or suggest?
Okay, I think this comes down to preferences and different regions, and to be honest, more than it being a one-stick approach. What I've seen here is for Kenya, it would be different slightly to the approach that might be done elsewhere. It can be done manually. It definitely is a possibility to be done manually. There has to be some manual intervention at a certain point. It just depends where. In terms of I think the tools would be obviously Google has its own keyword mapping tool where it can help you look at the competitors' costs and stuff, which kind of gives you there. It gives you a starting point, but it needs to be defined more. I think the biggest thing would be is some manual intervention would be required by looking at other customers, competitors specifically, and what they are doing as well on their site. So I say it is a manual and an automated kind of tool. So there's some tools that you can use. So for example, AI can help you generate the content. You would have to then do some customization to make it a bit more friendly to whichever region or whichever industry you are on as well. There is some nuances there. But I think in terms of the approach, it will just be depending on the situation or depending on the client itself as well.
Okay, I love that you brought in competitors. I think that's one area that people don't like to talk about when it comes to SEO yet. We all want to be the first ones on the page. I personally can remember a project where I think competitors really came in handy, especially if you are, marketing the sort of Jumias, Kilimols, GGs. You realize that if you do a search for some of those companies, every day the search engine results are different. And so if you're not careful, today you could think you're the one at the top, but tomorrow that changes. And I mean, that's the algorithm for you. Today it says one thing, tomorrow it says another thing, simply because your competitor is probably working much harder, when it comes to ensuring that they're then at the top. But as we think of all that, I think everything we do online has a role to play, both what you're doing on your website as a brand, as well as what you're doing on social media. And I think I'd want us to get a bit technical. Sylvia, how would you approach off-page SEO, specifically what many people would have had us refer to as link building, maybe social media optimization. How do you approach off-page SEO to ensure that, SEO rankings are good? How would you approach that?
I am not so good with a lot of off-page SEO, but I would say public relations as a big part of it is like what you post also on your personal pages plays a big part, because that is what also drive traffic sometimes to your website. And that relates to public relation. In terms of link building, I know like building authority is important, and it's important to be linking to like credible sites, because that is part of, if you want to build authority in the industry, if you want to be known as somebody huge in the industry, being a source where we know you get your information from credible sources. And also like internal linking within the website is always important, which that touches a lot on pages here, which is what I work on mostly. So I'd love to hear from the technical specialist here a lot on that.
Amazing. Jay, over to you. Thank you, Sylvia. Anything to add on, Jay? You might be muted.
Sorry about that. So yeah, there are some things we tend to do for off-page SEO. I mean, the off-page optimization. I think the biggest thing with our customers is, and we do it with our clients, for example, would be if you have vendors that you work with, especially vendors or like you work with some of these kind of content people, they actually have their own content as well. They have their own links to their own products. They work with some of these distributors. It's very important to actually add those references over to your actual websites as well. We see that happening where they don't actually put, because most of them would be distributors or vendors or wholesalers. They would be working with these vendors and adding the backlinks on the partner's website over to their website because they are sole distributors. That's one of the things that we try to work with. So communicating with the vendors they work with, some of the partners they work with as well. So I think that's one of the biggest things that we've seen that helps. And then the other part would be the content marketing. So how to attract and engage customers as well. So creating like relevant content for them, which I think comes back to what Sylvia has talked about as well previously, which is creating the relevant content. So not just about the SEO side for the on page, but what other things attract them to your website. So the images of the website, the branding, I call it, let me say the branding of the website. So that's another key thing people forget, where as much as you tend to do SEO, brand is equally as important as SEO as well.
Very, very true. And I think when those two marry, then the brand becomes successful because then it's actually working. So thank you for that contribution, Jay. I'd love to ask a final question before I give an opportunity for my panelists to sort of give us real life examples, because then I know we each have different experiences when it comes to SEO. So maybe before we get to that, I'd just love to know from my panelists, in your experience, how do you think mastering SEO has contributed to your clients, especially for those who are in highly competitive industries? What benefit do you think it's brought to them? And I think I'll start with Joy, then I'll go over to Sylvia, then finally Jay.
I'd say when you implement like SEO in your marketing, you'll see boosted brand awareness. So people who didn't previously know your brand begin to recognize you online. SEO also helps to build trust and credibility from the kind of information that you churn out. It's possible to build authority and to actually portray yourself as a thought leader in the industry. And finally, But most importantly, SEO also helps to generate leads and to actually make sales. So it's very important to like focus on SEO because there's a lot of traffic online that is leads waiting to be converted into clients. So yeah, brand awareness, trust, credibility, and sales.
Nice, thank you for that. Sylvia, over to you.
By implementing SEO, I think one of the biggest thing has been visibility, especially when it comes to being visible to partners and people you could collaborate with, apart from also clients. So I would say by building authority in the industry and building trust within the industry, even other organizations, through coming across your content on the digital space, would want to collaborate. I'm sorry, I have to leave. Something just happened. Can I get back to you?
That's okay, no problem. Thank you so much for your time, Sylvia. We really appreciate it.
Thank you too.
Amazing. Jay, over to you. How has SEO contributed to your clients?
So I think it's already been mentioned by Joy and Sylvia what it tend to do. I think the bigger thing would be that it does it in a more cost-effective way. That's what I would just add to it. It's just that you, at a point, it becomes a way to self-generate leads without spending heavily on certain marketing that you need. So I think that would be the last point to add to that.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that, Jay. So at this point, I think I'll just do another prompt in case anyone has a question so far. Please feel free to drop it on the chat. We'll get to it in the Q&A session in just a bit. If you'd like to contribute to the conversation, feel free to raise your hand and I'll get to you. But maybe as we finalize, let's go back to the table, real life experience. And Joy, I think I'll start with you. Maybe could you share with us any client or any case study you have where implementing SEO resulted in, significant improvement when it came to online visibility for a specific client you had, or maybe even their search engine ranking? Could you maybe tell us of a client you've had like that, and maybe what was that SEO journey like? How long did it take? What are some of the things you tried? Maybe what worked, what didn't work? Joy, maybe I'll start with you, then we can finally finish with Jay.
From the top of my mind, as you are just asking the question, I'm thinking of the current, my current employer right now, because I'm employed in we do maritime logistics, shipping, and everything. So it didn't take when I came in, we were nowhere in the map, in the first page of search engine results page, nowhere. But in about a month, we were able to, we rank at, I think, the third position when you search for a main keyword, in third place. It wasn't very challenging, I think, because we're in a very niche market. We don't have many competitors. So I just did a keyword research and tried to, implement that in our content, and that worked really well. However, because we're in many countries also, you find that the rankings tend to vary. So we might be ranking very well here in Kenya, but in Belgium, we're not ranking very well. So yeah, and it depends on a lot of variables. For example, the URL, I think it's called the country. Is it maybe Jay can guide me on this because I wouldn't want to be butchering. I think it's called the country code CCTLD, something like that. And it's a Belgian company. So you find that it may do better in Belgium, but when you go to Singapore, which we have a very huge potential market, we're not doing so well. And yeah, we also have a very generic brand name, which has also proven to be a challenge. So I think for business owners who are thinking of implementing SEO and reaping maximum fruits for it, maybe you might want to pick the right name that resonates with your product and reflects your brand and the problems that you solve, because some of these generic brand names are really competitive and really difficult to rank on search engine. But yeah, I think that's the case study that comes top of mind. We took about a month to rank on the first page of Google.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that. And I mean, as people can see, there are different lessons to be learned as you keep going by, different things that you get to realize while executing. So thank you so much, Joy, for sharing that. Maybe you can hear from Jay, your case study.
Sure. So I think from my case study would be our key e-commerce client, Hotpoint Appliances. So basically what we did is about 4 years ago, actually, we had approached them. They had an existing website. We had approached them to redesign the entire thing, look at the issues that they had. And a lot of the issues that we identified came not even just with SEO. It came to just how the website was designed or developed. So it was quite slow. They used to take about 30 seconds. Initially, it used to take 30 seconds to even load the homepage, for example, to like customer to just look at a product. And so what used to happen is we saw like a lot of drop in conversions that were happening at checkout because nobody would purchase items. So the approach we did is we basically talked to the client, developed a new e-commerce website for them. And what we saw is basically their sales increased. So about the conversion rate improved from 30%, let's say, to about 80%, I would say. So the simple tactics that we did from SEO was one was optimizing the page speed, how fast the website was taking to load, and then running successful campaigns for them on Google Ads. And a lot of the content we did was coming from their vendors, as mentioned. They worked with a lot of these vendors. So they would get a lot of the product codes, product items, descriptions from the vendors, do a bit of modification. But we made sure that the images, everything that they would put from the content perspective was correctly defined. So they had developed an in-house marketing team as well to do the content generation as well. So that actually led to the increase in their ranking. So I think initially they were not even on the first page about 4 years ago. They were not even on the first page on Google. So now they have come to the top 3 for most of the searches when you type appliances on Google. So it has the brand itself, I would say, has built over the last 4 years. But as Joy has actually mentioned, I think it was last year when they wanted to change the name of their company or from the e-commerce site from Hotpoint Appliances to plug.co.ke. And when they did that, it actually dropped their rankings drastically. So I think name is very important. And when you have a brand, it's very important to distinguish your brand from the others.
Great. I totally agree with that. And it's amazing. Someone wouldn't imagine that Hotpoint would have an SEO issue at any point. I remember for me, I think it was a few weeks ago, I was teaching a certain class and I gave people the leeway to let us know what website they wanted us to sort of put into an SEO checker just to see what their SEO scores were. And it was quite interesting. I think it was Apple, if I'm not wrong, had an SEO score of 60%. And I was quite surprised. But I mean, it's possible, it can happen. You have to put in the work. And so, I mean, as you can see, there's a lot that you can learn. As you've heard from Joy's example, for the company she works for, it took almost a month to rank higher on page 1. But as you've heard for Jay, for example, when he said 4 years ago, Hotpoint wasn't, even on the first page. So sometimes for some brands, of course, depending on what you do, how many products you have, how much there is on your website, you could find that in some instances, some brands, rank higher than others, while others are lower. So I think SEO is a journey, and we can all agree with that. And this journey takes a lot of, I can say, reading, as well as implementing. I think for me, one thing that I'd love to say is don't just take SEO as an imagination. I want you to imagine what the search engine has to do to figure out who should be first on a page. So it's not just looking at it from a face view. It has to go into the detail. And that's when you hear people talking about the search engine has to crawl your website, to be able to look through the images, look through the pages and their names, look through, what have you called your links? Is it relevant for people to search? So today, if you do a search for digital marketing courses, I want you to go and you'll see that the keywords on each of the websites that appear on the first page will be highlighted in bold. And so you get to see the difference between why is this website probably appearing first? Is it because the keywords are in the headline, in the description, in the links, maybe even in the backend, you find some people putting keywords in the backend. Why exactly are they appearing first? So I would say SEO is improved over time, but it all starts with just auditing and figuring out where is the brand right now and how can it actually be improved from here. So thank you so much for giving those examples. I have gotten a few questions on my Zoom DM, and maybe I can just take the next few minutes to have us answer those. So first question, how do you handle algorithm updates that could potentially impact current SEO strategies? Jay, if you don't mind, I think I'd love you to take this question. Then maybe Joy, if you have anything to add on after, you can.
Okay, I think unfortunately this is it comes as a learning curve. You will have to frequently visit your content every so often to make sure that it is relevant and up to date. So I think it just comes back to the updates that you regularly review. So it could be a monthly, it could be a bi-weekly, or 2 times in a month kind of situation. But you will have to review the content and your ranking with your competitors. We do have AI tools that can really help you generate. So I think one of the things to be is, as Melanie said, that you need to understand how the search engine optimization works. The simplest way is to understand like how prompt engineering works for AI. It's in a similar way the search engine would be looking through the data and looking at the result of your query. So it's a way that you can see that when you type in such an information and when you search for it, what exactly is displayed to me is how the AI engine works would be similar to how Google would have to crawl different websites to be able to get that information as well. So that would be one of the key things I think is learning a bit on the prompt engineering, and then from there creating your content to meet that prompt as well.
Amazing. Thank you for that. Maybe we can hear from Joy, then I see a hand up. We'll go to Owen after that. Joy, anything to add on?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with Jay. It's an ongoing process. It's very dynamic and evolving. So you need to keep up with the trends and the changing algorithms. And I think it's also important to churn or to produce time that is on time, like relevant and timely content. So that is, you're not producing stale content while other people are already trending or have already gotten captured the traffic. That's when you're producing this content. So you want to produce on time content and churn out relevant content. Thank you.
Right. Amazing. Thank you.
Just to add to Joy, I think an example would be is like when Black November comes in, you cannot start it on the last day. We have had cases where customers do that and they don't end up getting their sales in because they've just done it at the last moment, where people have been doing it from the beginning of November.
I definitely agree. Latecomers, please, if you're that client and you're on this call, please stop that behavior. Thank you, Jay. Owen, I think you wanted to say something.
Yes, Melanie. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. I'm very grateful for the panelists. I think I've learned a bit from Joy when she said building brand awareness and trust and credibility, and also from Sylvia on visibility. Maybe one question that I might want to ask each of the panelists, Sylvia, Jay, Joy, even you, Melanie, how do you maneuver having realistic conversations with clients or with employers on SEO, especially expectations? I'm asking this because I'm sure probably everyone on this call, you've just started cringing. Yeah, I know everyone on this call has had an instance probably where your boss or your client thought SEO was a quick fix to what they had. And I've had two instances, one where I was doing reputational management for a person, and another instance where there was a PR crisis for a brand. And in both instances, they thought, do your magic. And within 1 week, they expect results, sometimes within 3 days. And the one for reputational management, it was on Twitter. And I think Melanie has specific qualms with Twitter and getting back to it after a short stint. So that's my first question to all the panelists. And then the second one would be to Jay. Hi, Jay. Thank you for sharing. I think my path has been somehow similar to yours. And I think on my end, I've had a combination of on-page as well as technical, as well as off-page SEO to help build a brand. They had a really slow page, and the size of the elements on the page also weighing it down on loading speed and all that. So with time, we improved. So maybe, if I may ask Jay, what is the scariest or the most interesting approach you've had on SEO? Please be as personal as possible. Thank you for listening.
Hey, Owen, your questions are loaded. But I think I'll start. I think you've asked something so critical: clients, expectations, and SEO. SEO is not a quick fix. Sometimes it could take time. I know Jay will share. We have a personal example that we share of a client who, took us through quite a journey because, they thought it happens immediately. But I think for me, I'll give one solution that I usually use for clients. I actually try to teach them how it works. So I actually show them, even if it means taking them through a training session to show them all the work that Google has to do to crawl to figure out who should rank first. If I have to use videos as case studies, I go through that. I've realized with clients sometimes they assume that it works in one way, but when you show them how it actually works, then they become a little bit understanding. Maybe I'll throw the mic to Joy. What's your tactic around clients like this one?
Oh, I think I missed a bit of the question. I dropped off. So if you can repeat that, please.
So he was basically just asking, clients have this wild expectation that one, SEO is quick, and another thing that SEO could be a fix to all their digital marketing problems. So how do you handle such a client, to actually bring them back to earth, because then they're dreaming?
Yeah. Fortunately, I haven't worked with people like this, but I think the best approach to take would be to let them understand that SEO cannot actually work in isolation. You need to pair it up maybe with paid advertisement or PR and all these, so that they're making decisions from an informed point of view, because those might be a bit unrealistic. SEO is a journey. It's a journey and it may take time. So having this conversation with the client, I think, would really, really help. Yeah, just making them understand it might take time or it might be instant, depending on the industry and the business itself.
Amazing. Thank you, conversation. Maybe we can finalize with Jay as you answer Owen's second question as well. Maybe let's start with the first one. How do you handle such a client? And then we can go to the second question as we wind up.
Sure. So I think the thing would be is, in all honesty, you have to give them a realistic expectation. I think the one thing mistake is when we give customers kind of a guarantee that I know your sales will increase and stuff. We have actually learned to hold off on this and explaining to them how many factors are into play on their side before they can rank number one. And we then tell them what we have done with Hotpoint, because that would be our best case study for most customers, is how much effort and time we've had to put in. So we have a reference from them regarding that. So I think the best would be if you can get a reference from one of your customers or clients to explain the whole process. It could be a video kind of thing or something with one of the directors or whoever who is there. It would really help the process. Then customers will understand that, okay, it's not a simple journey. I think the biggest part is just not giving any guarantee, but telling them this is what it entails. And then if you do all of these things correctly, then I can say you'll be within the top 3, but it will take a period amount of time, which you cannot confirm. I think that would be the biggest thing, is not confirming. So I think there's a client that me and Melanie have worked with where we've seen similar issues where they expect it to be immediate. It has taken longer, but we came down to explain that this is what the managers over there, the e-commerce managers, have not been doing. And that's the reason why some of this has actually failed. So I think that would be another approach, is to go back and say, have they done all these things, and have they done it over a certain period of time? So maybe the thing would be have a review of a couple of months, and then say at each month where you would like to get. So let's say within the first month, you'd want to, if they are ranked 10th, after 1 month, you'd want to see them at least climbing to number 9 or something like that. So that would be a milestone approach that we've seen work.
All right, thank you, Jay. Maybe we can go over to the second question. I don't know if you'd like Owen to repeat it. I can also see there's something in the chat. I'll get to it.
Okay, I don't think there's any needs. I think what I've had an interesting journey with SEO is, so we have a client whose their website is optimized, their brand and everything is there, yet they're not having the sales in. And it comes back to show that it's not just that SEO, they're ranked quite well. So this client is called Amex Auto Parts. They sell tires, spare parts industries kind of for the vehicle industry. What tends to happen is the reason why their sales do not work out on e-commerce and stuff is not because of SEO. They would blame the SEO side, they blame the website, they blame the development and everything. But the biggest issue is not even the brand, it's the type of products they sell and the nature of products. What happens is most customers within a certain industry would not buy online. If I need a replacement of a tire or something, I'd physically go to one of these places and get it sorted out. So I think industry to a certain extent does matter. The FMCG industry for e-commerce, or certain industries, let me say, it does not work out. Clients will blame you that it is your fault that this is happening. What you can tend to do is offer different solutions, but at the end of the day, it is up to the client to make the decision on their behalf. So we've approached them with a loyalty scheme to work with the garages and stuff, but at the end of the day, it is up to the client to agree to those kind of schemes or not. So I don't think there's a one solution that fits all for certain industries, but for websites, like just having a corporate website or something, therefore SEO and branding can definitely help. But for e-commerce specifically, it is also entitled to the brand. I mean, not the brand, sorry, the industry that you work in. Somebody like Hotpoint or TBC have no issues, but somebody like Amex, who is in the auto spares industries, has a big issue with trying to generate the leads and the conversions in it.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that. And I mean, I think SEO is such an interesting topic that, of course, needs quite a lot of time. We'd love to take all your questions, but unfortunately, we may not be able to. I've pasted a link to the WhatsApp community. So in case you have any other questions, feel free to post them there and we can continue the conversation there. But as a final comment, I can see in the chat, Owen said, there's an instance where you're honest and it's a PR crisis. So some ask why they are paying you or spending a lot on SEO and not seeing results. And I think, honestly, it goes back to how you started off. Especially, I think it's good to give the client both sides, or in some instances, depending on the industry you're in, SEO picks pretty fast. But in others where there's quite a lot of competition, then it takes time. But I think also when it comes to a PR crisis, then a lot of critical decisions have to be made, including involving a PR expert, because sometimes us as marketers, we like to put our noses where we don't necessarily have to. And sometimes you realize it's actually not your fault because you have no control over the SEO itself. So if it gets to a PR crisis, I think the conversation totally changes. But yeah, I think this has been quite an insightful conversation. Any parting shot from you? Maybe I can start with Joy. Then I can go to Jay. Any parting shot for any marketer who's out there, or any business owner who's starting this SEO journey?
I think learning never stops when it comes to, just as in anything else, but especially SEO. So it's really important to like keep upskilling and keep learning, especially to keep up with the changing algorithms and the changing trends. That would be it for me.
Great, thank you so much. Finally, Jay, any parting shot?
I think the last one would just be is don't think of it just from a marketing point, think of it from a business point as well, get into the mind of the business owner as well as a consumer to understand why certain things would be working and why certain things would be failing as well. So it's not just always about I've done the SEO and that's it. What next? Could it be price? Could it be product? That would actually distinguish you differently from a basic just doing online marketing and ads.
Right, amazing. Thank you so much. For me, a big thank you to my panelists. Unfortunately, Sylvia couldn't rejoin, but I'm really glad to share some insights. Jay and Joy, thank you so much. We've had such a wonderful time learning. To our listeners, thank you so much for creating time. I think for me, that's it for today. Remember to join in the community and see you at the next event. Bye.